Meeting to order.
Apologies, Paul. I just need to do a couple things while you do that, and I will be good to go. Yep, you're all good. Sorry
Good.
about that.
And Seth, as always, thank you so much for making the virtual meetings possible. It's a wonderful, wonderful service for our whole community. All right, Ed, welcome. I'll just call the roll. Karen?
Me?
Yep.
I'm here.
Yep. I mean, let's make it official, so I got to do this.
Yeah, we'll make it
Patrice?
official. Yeah.
Here.
Jennifer?
Here.
Corey? And then welcome, Ed. Hey, good to see everyone. This is, we're starting to turn the corner on this major milestone of selecting a design consultant. Corey will review the process so far and where we are and next steps. And then on the agenda, first order of business is approval of the May 26th, 2022 meeting. Sent out copy of the minutes. Any questions or comments? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Paul, do you have a quorum?
Yes, we do. We
Okay.
have 5 voting members. So we've got Patrice, myself, and Jennifer.
Okay, great.
Great. Is there a second on the motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you. Any comment, discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes approved. Okay, down to item 3. Just want to start out by thanking Corey for just a great job in helping us get through the, well, first, of course, the request for proposals, the pre-bid meeting that she organized and led, and then receiving and reviewing the proposals. We got 8 very strong proposals, and then working with Karen, Patrice, and me to assist you in the ranking and the interview process, and then finally with a potential selection. So, just great work and really appreciate it, Corey. So with that, I'll turn over to you to kind of brief the rest of the commission on the process and where we are and where we're headed.
Okay, well, thank you, Paul. It was my pleasure to be involved with this project since it's such an important project for the town and the community. And there is such great enthusiasm with the proposals that we received. And like Paul said, there were 8 very strong proposals. And they all consisted of design teams, usually varying degrees of engineers / architects / landscape architects. So they were very thorough in their team, and most of the proposals were led by landscape architects. The selection committee, there were 5 of us that reviewed the proposals and scored them based on the criteria in the RFP, and they were very close in scores. There wasn't a whole lot of variation, but we did manage to pick the top 3 design teams, and we conducted some interviews with them, and we gave them the questions ahead of time, so they were able to prepare a presentation for us. And then Patrice, Paul, Karen, and I, proceeded with the interviews. And again, it was really difficult to pick the top 1 from the interviews. They were also well qualified. But in the end, we did pick one, the Copley Wolf Design Group. Their team seem to rise above the rest, just because they have a lot of experience designing waterfront parks in small towns in Massachusetts that are, comparable to Scituate. Their project that they highlighted in Essex at Connolly Point was very comparable to this project. One thing that that we identified as an issue with them that we wanted them to work on was the schedule. They had initially proposed a much longer time frame to complete the project. I forget exactly what it was, but we were able to talk to them and say, can you, make this a little shorter to be, comparable to the other timeframes? And they said, absolutely. We just kind of threw that out there as a starting point. And we're more than willing to make the timeframe a little bit shorter. So the next, so I did notify them that we selected them. The next steps are to negotiate a cost proposal with them so that we can actually get them under contract. So they initially submitted that to me on Friday last week, I think. Thursday or Friday last week, and I forwarded that to the town administrator, who was not very pleased with the way that it was presented and the price tag that they proposed. So I went back to them yesterday and had another phone call, and we kind of negotiated some items that we thought could be moved over to the phase 3 of the project. And then they were also going to go back and take a look at what their prices were and see if there's things that they could trim down to get the price a little bit lower, so that the town administrator is happier. So that is pending. Receipt of that revised cost proposal is pending. Hopefully I'll get it tomorrow. But I'm not quite sure it'll be ready in time for the select board meeting on the 23rd.
Corey,
Yeah.
I want to interrupt you just for a second. Excuse me. I just wanted to note that Eric Donovan's joined the meeting, and welcome, Eric.
Okay. Yeah. So, are there any questions on the process that we went through, or how we made the selection?
Yeah, go ahead, Karen.
Thank you, Paul. I'm thinking that if the other members of the committee would like to see the actual proposal that we reviewed from Copley Wolf, I'm sure we can make it available in the select board office.
Yeah, I can put a copy of it there.
And then obviously for everyone to know, the next step will be when Jim is ready to present a contract to the select board. We'll go through a similar description of how we arrived at the recommendation we made to the town administrator, who then makes the recommendation to the select board as to the contract. So it appears that I doubt very much, based on where we are, it's Thursday, that Jim will be ready to do the presentation to the board on next Tuesday. So I think we're looking probably at 2 weeks from this coming Tuesday, which is fine.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. I want to welcome Sue DePisa, who's chair of the Scituate Economic Development Commission. Welcome, Sue. Hey, Corey, could you kind of walk through the scope of work and schedule, just kind of what's phase 1, what's phase 2, and maybe less on the schedule because that's going to be revised, but just give the commission just some highlights on, what's done in each phase.
Yeah, the first phase is largely getting to know the site. It's going to entail creating a site plan, a surveyed site plan that locates the property boundaries, the high water mark, all the coastal features and the features of the site. So that will be done by a surveyor, and that'll create the base map from which designs can be overlaid upon. And but the phase one really is, getting to know the site, understanding the community needs, reaching out to stakeholders, engaging the community members on what they'd like to see happen with the site. What are the needs and wants and things like that. I know there's already been quite a bit of outreach, but we're just not to replicate the process, but just try to understand more fully what the designs can entail. And then from there, the landscape architects will develop 3 alternative designs and present those to the Shark and to the community for their review. And they, based on comments they've received back, they will try to incorporate those comments and pick one design. So then the selected design will then kind of be used to kick off phase 2, which is more of the preliminary engineering work. So that entails more detailed assessments of the soils, lab testing of potentially hazardous building materials, if there are any, and locating and trying to determine the status of any underground utilities and that sort of thing. And then the architects on the team will also submit designs for the building. So whatever building that we come up with in phase 1, it will be, some sort of restroom / meeting space building. But that is kind of yet to be determined exactly what it will become. But yeah, so the phase 2 will, and then we'll have kind of order of magnitude cost estimates to go along with that to help us determine which design we want to go with. And then and that will be basically the end of phase 2. And also throughout phase 1 and phase 2 will be permitting strategy, because it is one of those sites that has lots of resource areas and things that need to be permitted before we can even put a shovel in the ground. So that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I just want to add, thank you for that, Corey. I'd want to add that I was very impressed with the Copley Wolf proposal in terms of their experience in funding. And I think the ability they'll be able to provide in helping us identify funding sources and more important, maybe securing funding sources. So that was a very important part of their proposal. In addition, they seem to have a very good grasp of, as Corey said, the kind of permits that might be required, working along a waterfront and in a harbor, and they have quite a bit of experience with that. And then their proposal is very strong on communications and outreach, and it was good and welcome to see that they embrace that and see that as an important part of the project. That we want a project that our community is involved with, that our community supports, and certainly our community will feel a very personal connection to this amazing project when it's done. And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't one of the team leaders have some sailing background?
Yes,
Oh, that's for you, Ed.
Yeah, one of the landscape architects on the team is sailing instructor. So that will blend nicely, I think, with some of the desires for uses of the property.
Yeah. You know, as Corey said, and I know Karen and Patrice and I all felt the same, that the excitement we saw from in the proposal, the brochure that was put together for the proposal, but also in the interview, and I think that's part of the value of an interview, that you can really see that this is an important project to this company, and they're very excited about it. And I think there was a comment that this is a kind of a project that they get up and go to work, to handle. And of course, we wanted to see that. We did see that through all the proposals, but I thought theirs stood out in all of those regards. But Karen, anything else? Oh, by the way, I did this by email. I want to welcome Karen Connolly as our new liaison to the select board. The select board changes its liaisons from time to time, and Karen will replace Andrew. We certainly appreciate Andrew's contribution, and of course, he's very interested, as all the select board members are, in this project going forward. So welcome, Karen, and thank you very much for your participation in the interview and selection process, and to Patrice as well. Both of you put in a lot of quality time and contributed significantly to the process and the selection. So anything else you'd like to add about the process, or Copley Wolf?
well, yeah, a couple of things. I'd like to first of all acknowledge how hard Andrew worked to get us to the point that we're at. He jump-started the whole community outreach again, looking to update the surveys that we had done over the years, because circumstances have obviously changed since we did the original surveys. And I will say he just did a great job, and everyone's busy. So I offered to become liaison for this group. But as Paul mentioned, he's still obviously very interested, as frankly the rest of the board is too. I think we all view this as an opportunity. It's a marquee project. And so I reiterate what Paul also said about the funding. The funding is crucial. We may have ambitions that exceed what funds we actually know we have, or that we can have an influence on, but Copley was particularly upfront about that, helping us. So if we design something that we can't, quote unquote, afford, I think we'll have to figure out a way we can raise the funds, either through grants or regular fundraising. But that was a strong part of their proposal. In addition, I did want to let the community know that one of the strengths of their proposal was the fact that the cost estimator company that they're proposing to use is a certified woman-owned business. And there's some legal stuff you have to go through to become that. But, we do have a diversity equity committee in town, and they're trying to especially look at things like contracts and how we can get contracts awarded to more minority and women-owned businesses. So that was a good thing about their company as well. And finally, I would like to say, without Paul's persistence, we wouldn't have gotten this far. He and I have been talking a lot over the past few months how to keep this moving, and we all know that things can get stuck. And if there isn't someone who keeps saying, so where are we, where are we, where? And Paul has certainly done that, and I appreciate his leadership on this committee. And I appreciate everyone who's worked on the committee. I know that people have other commitments, so thank you, and let's keep this project moving.
Thank you, Karen. Patrice, anything you want to add?
Just, I sort of to echo some of the things that were already said. One of the things, and it was funny, and I said this in an earlier meeting with those of us who reviewed the proposals. Copley Wolf, you know, I had said any 8 of the people that submitted a proposal, I'd be happy with. But it wasn't until we met with the 3 final candidates, they really shone, they stood out to me as a leader. And part of that was, as Corey mentioned, all of the interviewees were given the same questions and an opportunity to create a presentation for us. But I felt that Copley Wolf actually anticipated other questions that we hadn't posed, but they proactively answered. And one of those was funding. And my background is fundraising, and there was a lot of grantors and donors that I had been imagining might be on that list, but I didn't think that they would have, and they did, and they had more than I even had thought of. So I was impressed by that. And their permitting list, they came, we asked everybody, you know, what permits do you think? We didn't have to ask them. They already had assembled that, and I was very impressed by that. But in addition to that, they didn't see this as a standalone project. They saw it as a real opportunity to create as an understanding of space. And so that's sort of my background, and that's what I bring to this commission. And I love that they understood that it would be an iconic project for Scituate, but they also understood how that would relate to the entire cultural district, but more importantly to the neighborhood. So for our neighbors and abutters, they really had an understanding of that. And I liked that about their proposal. So that was, those would be my other comments.
Thank you, Patrice. You know, and during the interview process, Patrice asked questions of each of the teams about their interest and willingness to incorporate our cultural aspects, elements into the project. And I thought the Copley Wolf was very enthusiastic about doing that, and that's a hallmark of their proposals. And they presented some ideas on that, and again, very receptive, and that's an important part of what we want to do here. Jennifer, any questions?
I don't have any questions. I'm very much looking forward to them engaging with the community and getting sort of all that community input from the abutters, from, you know, those that will be using the space, you know, as well as, you know, just what they can do to bring the community together. Because I know I'm finding, just being on various committees within town, everybody has their own sort of list of needs and what they consider number one, and hopefully we can make it all work, and everyone will be happy.
And Jennifer, if I can just respond to that too, one of the things that I also really liked about Copley Wolf was their community engagement strategy. And they said, maybe we could set up a kiosk at an event. And I said, well, on October 7th, we're having Art Walk. And they were already marking the date down if they were to get the contract. So I liked that they had multiple ways of connecting with the community, including just serendipitously connecting, as well as more curated ones.
Great. I'm looking forward to it. And I think I will stop by the select board's office and sort of pick up the proposal to get a jump start on, you know, some of their other ideas they may have.
Yeah, I mentioned the communications. I was really impressed. It's way more than just a couple of meetings. It's very interactive and very creative, I thought. Eric, any questions?
Is he muted?
You need to, if you're talking, Eric, you need to unmute. Maybe Eric had to step away. Sue DePisa, welcome. Any questions?
Sorry about that.
Sorry, I'm sorry, Sue. Let's go back to Eric. Yep.
It's all good.
Yeah,
I just
sure.
needed the permission to unmute. No, I don't really have any comments. I'm really excited to be just involved in it. I don't really have too much to say beyond that. I know the Commission on Disability is excited to be involved, and it sounds like this project has been thought out to all demographics, the physically challenged and beyond. So I'm just happy to watch this project evolve.
Yeah, and again, universal access design is an important element of Copley as well as the other proposals. Thank you, Eric. Sue, any comments, questions?
Thanks, Paul. I apologize for being late. That pesky real estate business thing always gets in my way. But Paul, first of all, thank you for your leadership. I know we hear about it at EDC. We're really thrilled to be a big part of this because of Paul. So we're all excited. I mean, there's lots of, I'm in meetings with Patrice. I'm in meetings with Paul and Karen Canfield and lots of things going on. But there's going to be some great momentum for this. Once the word, a lot of people still don't know about it. They don't know what's happening. So I think once you give us the talking points, I think it's going to be really great. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Sue. Ed, anything you wanted to add?
Well, also to thank you, Paul, for your leadership on this and Corey for that overview. I did have one question, just a realistic sort of time horizon. You mentioned phase 1, phase 2, that sort of thing. Are there, what type of time frame do you project for those types of phases to kick in? Are we talking months from now or just a month from now, or what realistically can we be looking at?
Good, Corey. Thank you.
I can answer that. Yeah, so I mean, they'll get started as soon as we give them the notice to proceed and have a signed contract. But our goal is to have our conceptual designs ready to present at the Springtown meeting in April. So that's kind of not too far away from now. So it's, I think, 6 or 7 months from now. And then once there's a preliminary design identified or an alternative design that's preferred by the community, then they're going to run with that. And the second phase will take about 7 months as well. So it's a pretty fast moving project. I don't think it'll be kind of stuck in limbo like it has been for months and months.
No, that's very helpful because I just wanted to sort of manage expectations on that end. And I just also was taking a quick look at their website. If you want to look at some of their portfolio, they look to have completed a lot of impressive projects. So I'm excited to see what they're going to be presenting.
Thanks, Ed. And I'd mentioned, as Corey did, that some of the comparable projects that they've completed showed really impressive ingenuity and problem solving, having like one measure that addresses several different issues in a very creative and comprehensive way. So, again, very impressive team, and I think we're going to get a great product. And as I said, most important, working with the community, we're not going to sneak up on anybody. We want the community involved. We want the community input. We want the community ownership when we have something and when we have this spectacular park done. Okay, anything else on these couple of agenda items? Again, thank you, Corey, and looking forward to hearing that the contract's been worked out and that we're scheduled, and I'll be sure to be at that select board meeting if I can.
We're very happy to have Corey on board to be the town person, the day-to-day contact. She's going to do great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, any reports from commissioners? Patrice?
No, we have an art walk coming up on October 7th, but in terms of its relevance to the commission, no, I haven't had a chance to share where we were on this at our last meeting because I wasn't sure quite where the process was. Like Jim hadn't had those conversations yet. But they are excited about it in general, and they do see it as an integral part of the cultural district, which extends from behind Paul at the lighthouse all the way to the church, St. Mary's.
Thanks, Patrice. Jennifer?
So I, at our most recent rec commission, just gave them an update of where the project stood. I think at that time the proposals had been received and they were being reviewed. And everyone, of course, is excited about something coming from this space. They really, I think the only concern with rec is just that they do have programming in that building and just to know the timeline. So I think that's important for the rec department specifically to know what the timeline is so that they can maybe start looking at other spots for some programming while construction is happening.
Great. Eric?
Not much to add from the Commission on Disabilities. We do have a event coming up. I don't actually have the specific date, but again, not relevant to this commission. No, I think just accessibility, and there hasn't been too much of that conversation yet, but sitting in idle excitedly waiting.
Thank you, Eric. Karen?
No, I've said my piece. I'm looking forward to keeping this moving.
I do watch the select board meetings and on Scituate community television, and it's great when you give your report and just see the support and interest of the rest of the select board and Jim. So it's great to see. Let's see. For EDC, I'll report that, as I've said before, the support for this project is one of the major priorities of EDC. I give a report at each meeting, and there's great enthusiasm and support we're hearing from the EDC and the other folks that attend our meetings. Sue, anything you want to add?
No, that's just what I was going to say, Paul. I think people are going to start to get excited about it, and it's going to be a jewel, really.
Great.
So we're excited about that.
Great. Okay, now we're down to public comment. Ed, anything you want to add?
No, not right now. I think that timeline helped to cover a lot of it, and I too look forward to seeing how the proposals progress.
Thank you, Ed. Anything else for this meeting? Anyone wants to bring up? Great. I'll ask then for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second.
Second, I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 And meeting adjourned at 6:35. Again, thank